animated adventures. Just 4 for you in this section. We'll start with Despicable Me 2, featuring Steve Carell back as the voice of supervillain / superdad Gru, battling a new supervillain played by Al Pacino, here making his animated movie debut. Then we've got the Smurfs 2. Yes, our little blue buddies are back on a frantic mission to rescue Smurfette, aided by their human friends again, led by the brilliant Neil Patrick Harris. Epic, a big screen 3D animated spectacular from the makers of Ice Age, but set in the warmer climes of the forest where a battle between good and evil is raging. Monsters University. I know, right? Who is not looking forward to this? Of course, we all are. Pixar's Toy Story 3 was the UK's overall top-grossing movie of 2010. So who's to say that this long-awaited sequel, 12 years after the original Monsters, Inc., won't repeat that trick? John Goodman and Billy Crystal return. The story recounts their time at college when they didn't always see eye to massive eye.
You know, if you're going to prank someone, the least you could do is think of something clever. What? What's happening? I don't get it.
Before we leave the subject of Pixar, I'd like to sneak in a mention of an extra summer release called Planes. As you can see, this is kind of an airborne version of Cars, involving a small propeller plane with a fear of heights. Val Kilmer, and this is just great casting, Val Kilmer and Anthony Edwards are among the voices, both of whom were in Top Gun. Moving on to our next category, which is revivals. Some all-time favorites digitally restored and relaunched in cinemas, where they always look, sound, and feel their best, ahead of next year's Jurassic Park 4. Steven Spielberg's original Jurassic Park roars back into cinemas in a brand new 20th anniversary 3D version. Also coming are some magnificently remastered versions of Roman Holiday, starring Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn, Bonjour Tristesse with Deborah Kerr, Heaven's Gate with Chris Christopherson and Christopher Walken, and Dial M for Murder, starring Grace Kelly, perhaps the ultimate Hitchcock blonde. Right, moving on to our next category, documentaries. These thrilling slices of true life return to the big screen. They're increasingly popular. I've picked 3 to talk about. First of all, Chimpanzee. We follow Oscar, an orphan chimp, as he copes with the daily upheavals that life throws at him in the Ivory Coast jungle. It's directed by Alistair Fothergill, a veteran of David Attenborough's Magnificent Earth documentaries, and is narrated by Tim Allen. Next up is Beware of Mr. Baker. The Mr. Baker in question being Ginger Baker, a member of the band Cream with Eric Clapton, then of Blind Faith, then Hawkwind and other groups. This recounts his extraordinary life from the 1960s. And following that, get ready to scream if you're 15, is 1D, 3D in cinemas from August. This is, of course, One Direction. This is Us. Yeah! Interestingly, it's directed by Morgan Spurlock. I'd right now love to introduce another guest on stage. I'd love you to put your hands together for a man who is a legend to me. I've met him on numerous occasions. He's a bit of a genius. Okay, he's a lot of a genius. Please welcome one of Empire Magazine's writers and contributors, the wonderful Mr. Ian Freer. Ian, how you doing? I've got your microphone and everything.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, how are you?
Hello, folks. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the legend Ian Freer! So let's start, seeing as we're sort of talking about the summer season, let's start by asking you what you're excited about in terms of what's coming up on the big screen.
Man of Steel, obviously, absolutely looking forward to that. You say that Michael Shannon's most exciting thing about that. I think it's Kevin Costner is Superman's dad. That's fantastic casting, so I'll take that. And Star Trek Into Darkness. J.J. Abrams doing Star Trek again. I was always a Star Wars kid. I wasn't a Star Trek kid. So to me, he made sort of Star Trek really kind of fun and sexy. And obviously this time around, we'll be looking for clues to what he's going to do with Star Wars Episode 7. So I'll go for Superman and Star Trek.
So as a J.J. Abrams fan and a Star Wars fan, you must be thrilled that he's taking over.
That's fantastic casting, isn't it? You couldn't have hoped for better than that.
No.
Couldn't hope.
So tell us a bit about how you actually got started, because we're in a room full of film fans and film journalists. How did you get started as a professional writer and journalist for Empire?
I'm kind of weird, really. In that I started my journalism career in my early 30s, so I came to it quite late. When I was a kid, I was like the nerdiest nerd, and I kind of made my own little films. I made my own version of Jaws, my own version of Close Encounters. I wanted to be Steven Spielberg. I went to film school, I got my degree, then I kind of worked in TV for a bit, and that was the point where TV was going to digital editing. I was in post-production, and I just didn't want to learn it. And I'd always read Empire and thought I could do that. So I just got some stuff together and sent it off to them. I started doing a little bit of freelancing, then I was freelancing in the office, then I joined the staff. My first cover was Saving Private Ryan. So what year was that? If my first cover is Saving Private Ryan, what year was that? Good man, 1998.
In terms of what it's actually like, because I think it's a dream for a lot of people to work at Empire magazine. What's it like, a sort of day in the life of working in the Empire office?
It's a mixture of things. It's a mixture of really exciting things and really dull things. You know, the great stuff is going out doing the interviews and going to see the movies. But there's a lot of kind of planning meetings as well. There's a lot of looking at copy and looking at reviews and that's good stuff. But there are a lot of meetings. I sit in a lot of advertising meetings and a lot of marketing meetings. So, you know, there's some brilliant stuff, but that's to kind of balance out with the kind of not so glamorous stuff as well.
I guess what a lot of people would love to hear is if you had any advice for anyone aspiring to not just be a successful film reviewer or movie writer in terms of like the journalist side of things, but also working at Empire. How would someone go about sort of progressing with their career in that direction?
It's weird. I think that it's a lazy way to approach a magazine like Empire and just offer to review. I get tons of reviews sent to me, and I'm not really looking for that. The lifeblood of any magazine is ideas. So I think the best thing you could do is get a sheet of A4, 5 ideas, a paragraph on each, and send them in. And I just think that's the best thing. Ideas, and the genius thing about working on a film magazine is that our content is dictated by a release schedule. So you know what's coming up. So you know come the end of the year, we'll be doing the second Hobbit movie. So you can think about what ideas could I come up with for funny little things about The Hobbit 2 and send them in plenty of time. You know, you've got time. We work on 3 issues at a time. So, you know, I'd be looking for stuff for autumn and winter now. So if you sort of get ideas for those sort of movies and send them in, that's one way of doing it. We do have a couple of writers who are doing stuff for us we sort of noticed them from blogs. So that is something that we keep an eye on. And if I were you, I'd just make it, again, it's difficult to make a mark with a review blog. I think a lot of our reviewers, the people we've taken from blogs, do kind of comedy blogs. So blogs like The Incredible Suit and The Shiznit. And I think that those kind of things catch your eye more than just review blog. I think it's very hard to kind of break out by doing a review blog.
That is great advice. Thank you very much, Ed. What is your favourite Steven Spielberg movie?
I think the most perfect one is the 1982 version of E.T. I think that's faultless. But I've been watching Schindler's List again. Schindler's List out again on Blu-ray now. And it's just astonishing, Schindler's List. You can't imagine a more brave, daring, truthful, courageous movie. It's an astonishing film. It's weird. I'd say when I was a kid, I used to make Steven Spielberg films. And I've interviewed him a few times over the past few years. And I interviewed him on Warhorse on the set. And I got down to set. And basically, Spielberg's life is run by 2 women. And by the time I got to meet him on set, they'd sat me a director's chair with my name on it next to his. And so I sat with him for a morning watching him direct Warhorse, which is pretty much the greatest moment of my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ian Freer!
Thank you very much.